Party makes its return this Friday, and you won't want to miss it. Join your favorite KFAN personalities, including PA and Nordo, this Friday at Forgotten Star Brewery for a night of games, awesome prizes, including tickets to see the Purple and live music from the Chris Hockey Band. Doors open at 5. Get full details now. KFAN.com, keyword party. KFAN.com, keyword party.
Looking forward to that. It's been 5 years. I believe the last Rube Party was 2019. On site at a different venue here in the Metro. An absolute blast. This time around, I know there'll be music. I'm sure the Power Trip will be on stage at some point. I believe we're all going to be there. Are you you're not going to be there, or are you going to be here?
I mean, I'll be here for Barrero, and I'm assuming, I haven't heard, but I'm assuming the live 6:30 bit, I'll probably be here too.
You sound downtrodden about it.
Well,
are you going to come afterwards?
I'd like to.
Okay.
That's the plan.
I think people want to see you there, to be honest with you.
Well, welcome to the Preposterous Statement Tournament.
I think it'd be nice. I think it'd be nice if you showed up.
Oh, I definitely want to.
Okay. On-air production meeting, here's the deal. Whether it was yesterday, you were downtrodden because you have a lot of free time, so you're playing video games.
I was very happy about that.
Now you're trying to make it sound like people don't want to see you at the Rube Party. I need you to pump it up a little bit.
Oh.
You're a good dude. We love having you around.
Thanks,
the Rubes are
Norris.
going to be excited to meet you and see you.
I might need some security after all the ripping I've done.
Oh, they're going to destroy. They're going to destroy you.
Oh, yeah.
And frankly, they should.
Yeah, I deserve it.
But at the end, they'll shake your hand. They'll say, "Good game," and you'll part ways.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I'm looking forward to it.
Pump it up a little bit. Pumping it up. Dan Hayes at 11, specifically on the Twins. All-Star game last night. The All-Star game took place last night. I believe the American League won 5-3. And I was bouncing back and forth. Some Summer League notes that I do want to get to. The Wolves lose to the Sixers yesterday in the NBA Summer League game. Terrence Shannon Jr. did his thing. Not sure anybody else did, but we'll talk about that. Well, actually, Leonard Miller was a force. But it was kind of an awful vibe. Just kind of low-end basketball, to be honest, taking place yesterday against the Sixers. Again, that's why I feel bad. I ended yesterday's show. I'm like, I got some homework for you. You don't actually have to do it. You won't be graded on set assignment, but maybe put some time aside to watch ESPN2, watch the Wolves and Sixers. I feel bad that that was the particular one I encouraged you to watch. But I was bouncing back and forth between that and the All-Star game. All-Star Game's fine, and this is probably, it comes out every year. There were probably surveys somewhere, and there's probably hot talkers. Worst of the All-Star games, best of the All-Star games. As adults now, at least for me, I can't speak for you, but the shine has kind of worn off a little bit. Growing up watching, when I was a kid, mid-90s, 8, 9 years old, and the skills competition would take place in Honolulu for the Pro Bowl. And you're seeing Brett Favre, and you're seeing Dan Marino, you're seeing these guys yucking it up on the sideline. Hey, they're real humans, just like us. They're not these mythical gods that I would see during training camp every year as a kid down in Mankato, sticking my arm through the chain link fence at Blakesley Stadium. Getting to dap it up before dapping was even dapping with the Chris Dolmans and the Randall McDaniels of the world. That was amazing to me. That's what built my Vikings fandom and sports fandom. These mythical, godlike individuals that I saw during Vikings training camp. So maybe this is a better, it's basically a better question for the 9-year-olds. I don't know how good our demo is with 9 and 10-year-old sports fans. Doesn't feel significant. Although during my time working here at the Fan, countless number of people, and it's the profile that my guy has established with consistency over 2+ decades, is and Parker Fox in studio yesterday. Good example of it. A guy in his mid-20s. Well, I didn't really listen to 9 to Noon, or I didn't really listen to the Fan as a kid. But everywhere I was going with my dad, we always listened to the Fan. And that's kind of now, the second generation of Rubes. That guys like PA, a ton of equity, right? I mean, I'm the newest guy here at the Fan. Well, I guess in terms of from a full-time standpoint, but you've been here already, 5-6 years?
Yeah. Approaching 6 years, I think.
Similar with Max. Zach's been here probably 6-7 years, so yeah, maybe more. You lose track of it. But I've been here 11 years, and then you start going down the list, and it's 2 decades plus, right? The equity and the consistency that the Fan has maintained for such a long time. And so, but it's always, this time of year, the All-Star game last night. I like the MLB All-Star game because it at least kind of looks like the game that we'll be watching starting on Saturday when the Twins host the Brew Crew. A little bit less star-studded, I suppose. But the interviews and the bits, like the cool asides. But every sport in some way has their own argument about whether to get rid of these things in terms of there's no point, specifically in football, right? Like players are getting out of it. Either they're in the Super Bowl or they just blatantly don't want to do it. And then third, fourth, fifth guy down the line, kind of the dilution and the making irrelevant of, I should say, the honor of playing in the Pro Bowl. And you look at somebody's Wikipedia page, like, hey, they were all pro once, but they went to 6 Pro Bowls. Most players today, if you're thinking about how you rank and view these guys, that one all-pro season means a heck of a lot more than those 6 Pro Bowl seasons. Although in that case, it's a bad example. That would show that this player is probably pretty good over a long period of time. So in the end, maybe that is okay. But point remains, the all-pro recognition versus the Pro Bowl recognition, where at some point you find the 20th best defensive end in the NFL, that guy's excited about a comp trip to Orlando or Hawaii, wherever the thing ends. But I'm watching the game last night, and Willie Castro makes his appearance. I don't believe they had the national anthem person back.
More on that later.
Oh, there's more?
Well, I just was gonna mention it in the about a half hour.
Oh, okay. They win the All-Star game. The thing is, for me, though, is that whether it's good, whether it's bad, how do you create meaning to it? Does meaning to you matter? It used to be if you won the All-Star game, you'd get home field advantage for the World Series. And now I believe this has been 7-8 years now that they haven't done that. Getting to see Willie Castro, was that cool? You got to see him for, maybe a minute and a half as he grounded out to shortstop. And you had to wait, by the way. It was Jarren Duran. He hits a 2-run shot in the bottom of the 5th. The bottom of the 8th finally comes up. They're like, oh, yeah, we got Willie Castro here. He can go in for an at-bat. So that part's cool. Do you love the All-Star game? Are you bored with it? Those sorts of things. All the 9-year-olds and 10-year-olds with phones can text in 64686. My girls are 9. They don't have a phone yet. But I see that every year. We see these games take place. Does it satiate? Does it whet the palate when we're looking in a week, right? Like Link's got a nooner today. That's pretty cool. Link's hosting in Atlanta, I believe, at Target Center. That's awesome. Had Wendell Epps on the show yesterday. That's great. But the All-Star game this time of year is the perfect time for vocal maintenance days, the perfect time for looking ahead to Vikings training camp. It's the perfect chance to look back. We're talking about the NBA draft, and Summer League has meant more in this town than it has in 15 years. But just watching it bouncing back and forth last night, it was just the most uncompelling and frankly, the boring event. Almost an event that didn't need to happen. Home Run Derby's cool. But again, the cool part about that is you're seeing conversations, you're seeing guys hanging out, you're kind of getting an inside look.
The mic'd up.
Again, it's hey, they're humans too. But ultimately, from an All-Star game standpoint, I'm curious how other fans look at those things. I have no interest in watching any of them. I watch it because I wanted to see Willie Castro. So I guess they got me there for at least 5 minutes. But I'm just interested to know how these things sit with fans who, the Pro Bowl, they talk about getting rid of the Pro Bowl every year. It still has massive ratings. So are people bored with it? Are they still pumped up about it? NBA All-Star Game, there's no defense. NHL All-Star Game, they still doing the 3-on-3 thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
For now.
So, watching that last night, let's actually, bouncing back and forth, you do the cash thing, we'll pause, and then we'll jump into the Minnesota Timberwolves before we get to news around 10:40. But it's Nordo in for PA, bouncing around, flipping channels, getting our way closer and closer. 10 days from now, the first training camp practice. Saucy and I on the perch. We can't freaking wait for it. And you, be patient, wait for it. Here's the cash thing, a chance to win $1,000.
The cash thing. The Fan and BigDeck.com want to give you a shot to put $1,000 in your hand at the National Cash Contest. Head to KFAN.com, enter the keyword grand for this hour. Keyword is grand, KFAN.com, keyword grand. If you want to chime in what's happening with your favorite KFAN shows, you can make your voice heard on the Bradshaw and Bryan KFAN text line. Just let us know what you'd say by texting your message to 64686. That is 64686. Standard text message and data rates apply.
Hey, have you ever played the initials game, Brett?
I have never played the initials game.
You never have?
Never once.
Well, what a miss that is.
Well,
because I know there's they announced the quarterfinals, the bracket for the initials game invitational. And Mike Mussman at number 4, I mean, it's just pure disrespect. All right, Fallness, he's 45, ranked 45 out of 45.
Yeah.
They gotta let you play at some point.
Well, here's the tough, because I don't want it to seem like I'm begging, like I'm bitter.
But you would like to play.
Of course.
Yeah.
And I'm definitely bummed, but I don't want it to seem like I'm bitter and I'm angry, but like shouldn't I be disappointed that I'm not in? Like, that's a healthy thing if it's something good that you want to be a part of. So,
yeah, I don't know.
But then I don't want it to seem like, oh, he's just bitching about not being in the
I would like you to play.
Oh, thanks.
I'm actually going to ask him. I'm in that, let me see here. I'm in the number 9 spot. I think that's
number 9.
That's too highly ranked, to be honest. I should be farther down the totem pole.
You made it to the finals.
Yeah, it was, who knows, flash in the pan. We're not feeling good about our mental prospects this year. We're a little foggy. I'm going to ask Corey if you can take my spot. Would you like to play?
Oh.
Are you available on Monday, August 19th? I'm going to see. Now, I don't know how that muddies the water with the bracket. It's probably not going to happen. And actually, I will. I mean, I'm not going to concede my spot to you. But
I wouldn't want you to.
I'd like you to play.
That would be, if you conceded your spot, that would be like me going to the teacher and being like, I got left out. So then they put you in because you kind of, I want Corey to want me in the tournament. Does that make sense?
You want to be wanted.
Yeah. So, but I don't want it. Like, I would never go into the corner's office and be like, oh, I got left out again. Please help me.
Have you ever said to Corey, like, hey, how's it going, man? Hey,
yeah,
what's going on, Brett?
We talk about House of the Dragon every week.
Okay, perfect.
So, which I like. Apparently you're out on, but
I'm not caught up on it.
Yeah.
We're too deep on the incestuous nature of things. We got kids' heads being removed.
Correct.
They've lost me in a couple different areas. So I haven't watched the last couple of episodes. But I watched Game of Thrones. We did a podcast. Yeah. Have you ever just said, hey Corey, how was House of the Dragon? And then you go through that.
Yeah.
And then afterwards you say, what about the initials game?
So, well, there's more on. I did that one time with Tana when I was like my first year. It's like, hey, if you ever need anybody, let me know.
For Program Password?
Yeah.
Have you ever played?
I've only been asked once since then.
Okay.
So, apparently I was too eager.
All right, here's the deal. Pump it up a little bit. This is from last segment, on-air production meeting. Pump it up. Okay, you're good people. But I need you to assert yourself a little bit. So I would like you, this is, again, homework. You don't have to do it. You're not being graded. I'm not your superior by any means. I would like you to go ask him. Ask him in person, too. Don't send the text. No. Don't send the text. Ask him in person. I did get this text message. TP2K guy chimes in. Lil B did mention people cry in her office. I have seen people cry.
Ew.
Are you one of them?
I'm not, thankfully.
You're not, okay.
I'll cry in my car and wail instead.
Okay.
Oh, sorry, pump it up. No, I would never, ever. No, I'm too manly to do that.
I'd like you to play in the initials game at some point.
I would love to.
But
I don't want to bitch and moan about it and then make it seem like I'm a whiner.
But in all honesty, I totally recant and I'm reversing. I'm not going to.
I don't want you to
give you my spot in the tournament.
I don't want a pity invite. I want a real invite.
I don't
want a man invite.
See, I don't like the seeding of this. Yeah, first of all, I'm 9. That's too high. I need to be high teens, maybe low 20s. But Pelissero, Lieber, speaking of Lil B, she's in the mix. Amy Hockard from Fox 9. No, this is... Now I have to talk to Corey because I believe that this has been stacked against me. I think I faced Pelissero in one of these. And I smoked him en route to the finals last year. Let's go. Place your bets now. Again, flash in the pan. Not expecting much.
No, pump it up, Nordo. You're going to kill it. You're the 9 seed.
But this kills 2 with 1 here because next year, Mike Mussman, 44th ranked. Brett Blakemore, 45th ranked. And you're in the dance. You're in the dance.
All I need to get in. Survive in advance.
All right, I'm gonna. You need to talk to him first, and then if that doesn't work, I will approach on your behalf.
Okay.
So, but right. I need.
Do you think that's the missing piece this whole time? Well, maybe you shouldn't answer. Maybe you shouldn't answer.
I was just trying to pump you up here, and now you're putting me in a spot.
Yeah, just don't answer it. We'll move on.
Am I supposed to be honest here, or?
Oh boy.
Yes, it's the.
Okay.
We've all been waiting for it.
I know we've all been holding our breath.
It's been the talk.
Everyone was watching that segment thinking, "Where is he?" Yeah.
Sales guy, water cooler. You wouldn't believe Randy Fromm in the men's room. I mean, it's all we talk about.
Yeah.
Is you playing in the initials game? But seriously,
I did not bring it up.
Seriously, I'd like to hear you. I got this text message: if Brett Blakemore or Brent Blankmore,
boy, that's one of the worst. That's creative.
If he kisses a glizzy at the Rube party, he can play the initials game.
I'm in.
Oh my gosh, you are above average at that.
Oh, you know who was not in? Man, Rob Dillingham's having a rough go.
That's a segue.
Terrence Shannon Jr., Deshaun Nix. They're really the best 2 players in the mix right now for the Timberwolves as you watch Summer League unfold. Just a blast yesterday. They made their way back into the mix really in the 4th quarter, but the 3rd quarter yesterday, if you were able to watch it, if you did your homework, you would have seen an absolute disaster take place. As at one point, final stages of the 3rd quarter, I think they were down by 16, and they pushed on through the 4th. One guy I want to learn a hell of a lot more, though, is Leonard Miller. Leonard Miller was awesome. I think he was tied for the team lead. Couldn't hit a 3 to save his life, but 50% from the floor, 13 boards, and a couple of blocks. And I've harped on it, and this isn't something that should be a new fascination. This isn't groundbreaking. But just being able to see the next generation of players getting close to being a part of actually contributing to the big club. Leonard Miller's right there. He's still only 20 years old. He's starting to fill out and get into his size. But the proclivities of this team, the focus of this team, the importance of this team to, we want to get better offensively. Eventually, Dillingham's going to be able to get to the rack. Eventually, we're going to have a better offensive asset in that spot where Mike Conley sits now. For now, we got to wait. Terrence Shannon Jr., again, a little bit older, a little more physically gifted at this stage, a little more ready to participate. But you saw that focus into it, want to get better offensively. But you're seeing a group in this summer league squad, albeit yesterday. I mean, I'm worried, Jalen Clark coming back from injury, still trying to get his feet underneath him. Just awful from the floor. Dillingham, again, making bad shots and all of that. You love seeing he had 7 dimes yesterday, making really good plays with the basketball, distributing it. So it's not all negative on Dillingham. You're seeing those sparks. You're seeing the thoughtful and creative nature of a guy in that spot, so you love it. He just can't score to save his life. I mean, it was so, I hate to use the term desperate, but we've all watched enough hoops over the course of time to see when teams are truly connected and there are ideas in place. There's a stable vibe to the offense where you're seeing a lot of desperate plays being made. Minot was better offensively yesterday, but just a few just chucking up threes while the Sixers were just running down and getting easy dunks in transition. So, but the defensive identity, that's where Jalen Clark, that's where you're going to see that happen. Now, it didn't show up on the stat sheet yesterday, but Shannon Jr. in all the right spots, in all the right times. And Minot with a block yesterday. So physically imposing defensively, that's still part of the story, and it's still strong. And a team that was the best in the NBA defensively a year ago, I would have to say that they are very much game to potentially even be better than they were a year ago. And loving this crop, as the A topic with the Wolves, of course, is not changing the starting 5, how they use Cat and Jaden McDaniels, more consistency offensively. Those sorts of talkers will persist. But filling the roles of the 7th guy, the 8th guy, the 9th guy, the 10th guy, what that looks like. Joe Ingles part of that conversation, but in the end, watching the kids go at it, I'm still trying to figure out when this offense is going to work, when everyone can just kind of take a deep breath and start taking better shots. But overall, super entertaining in Vegas, despite this desperation that took place at times in the second half yesterday. Frankly, it got ugly. But Terrence Shannon Jr., nothing ugly about that. Sean Nix getting to the line. He took 15 free throws yesterday. So again, the ideas of Chris Finch, what you see from your starting 5, you're seeing that through Chris Hines and through the Summer League team, which is super cool. So tough loss yesterday. Awful third quarter. Embarrassing to watch at times. But I encourage you, another homework assignment if you get the chance. Watch the Wolves in the Summer League and see what I'm talking about with these guys. A lot of fun talkers emanating from that as we move our way back towards the fall and towards football season. You're home for Vikings football, the Fan. When we return, some news, and then we will jump into thinking about looking forward. Saturday, the Twins are hosting the Brewers as the second half sprint begins. Dan Hayes of The Athletic, he's going to tell us a little bit about the draft pick. He's going to talk about some all-star break-related issues, health-wise, what to look forward to, trade deadline, ahoy, how this offense stays humming despite maybe some injuries and some health issues, what the pitching staff looks like, and this squad on pace to be very much a factor in the 2024 Major League Baseball playoffs. Looking forward to that at 11, and news is next right here on the...
Fantasy Football Training Camp is back at Treasure Island Resort and Casino. Join Paul Charchi and the Fantasy Football Weekly crew in the Full Deck Ballroom Friday, August 16th from 6 to 9 p.m. Stop by for the live broadcast 6 to 8, then stick around for a Fantasy Football Deep Dive an hour after that. Great prizes to be had, including a $1,000 grand prize. Full details now, KFAN.com, keyword calendar.
It's time for News du Nord. And that's brought to you by The Casino. Not just a casino, The Casino at Canterbury Park. CanterburyPark.com will give you details on the live racing schedule. And it's pretty consistently, I know, on the weekend bits, but a lot of times, there's a handful of times this year where they'll have 4-day race weeks. So you can check that out. And whether it's Extreme Day, you got people riding ostriches around the park. You got wiener dog races and corgis and straight and strong, etc. My guy on the call. It's a blast. It's one of the coolest family spots in the metro. And, of course, you're playing poker and blackjack and table games all year round. CanterburyPark.com is the place to go. And where are we going as part of News du Nord?
Number 1.
Well, let's start with the All-Star game, the AL 153 in a comeback fashion. I think Ohtani had a home run. I wanted to talk about two things with the All-Star game. A, you mentioned it briefly, and I will die on this hill. I think it's way more entertaining when home field advantage was on the line, when there was something to play for, and not just who wins $1 million extra because they really don't care. It's all dropping the bucket to them anyways. I thought that was fun.
So I'm totally with you. And I got a bunch of text messages on it, and for those that did, I appreciate it. I don't want to look like it, or I don't want to make it seem like I was ignoring you. We just kind of changed things. Like I got this from Doobie and Fancato. I'm 29, used to have a great time watching the All-Star game. Let me see here. I'd much rather watch the home run derby than the All-Star game, so it's still kind of the bit factor involved with that. Brett in Wisconsin, he's 37. What is this, you texting in?
No.
Super bored with all the
Maybe
All-Star Pro Bowl games. If they brought back the skills competitions, they kind of do that now on the NFL side of things. Like they do those relay races and dodgeball and stuff. Not really my thing, but again, maybe it's for the kids, for the future of NFL fans. I like this text message, no name, but the great thing about MLB All-Star Games are one-on-one matchups. You get to see the superstars go up against each other. Skeens versus Judge, Burns versus Ohtani. No other sport has this. That's so cool. I have to concede, you're absolutely dead on. And really in baseball, as I've said multiple times, man, the league has trouble marketing their stars, right? And in regional TV networks and all these things, how do you put guys on a platform? And I don't know how much it matters, but the fact like Ohtani, he's not English speaking, right? But he is the unicorn of baseball right now. As soon as he gets, I believe the arm needs to be healthy. But how do you put that on billboards everywhere? It just feels like Major League Baseball has had a hard time because it's so segmented and funneled, where you didn't see the Angels back before Mike Trout was hurt every year. You didn't see him on TV, maybe a couple of Sunday night baseball games, but for the most part, you didn't see him unless he was here in Minnesota, or if the Twins were out in L.A. Now half the fan base can't watch either of those series on TV, but that's a different conversation. The ability in this in this environment to see a game that looks more like its actual game than the other pro or all-star competitions, and get to see some of those big-timers. I didn't really watch Skeens this year. Getting to see that. You're right. And those matchups, and Ohtani getting loose with the 3-run shot. Like that is super cool. So I'm wrong in that vein. And I'm with you, Brett, getting back to the point. I did like something being on the line. But then there would be the argument, speaking of Skeens, for instance, he's elite, and it is an all-star game, so it's self-motivation, big crowd, national stage in that moment, so he's going to want to pitch really well. But if you're going to do representation from every team, which I think they should still continue to do, I'm not arguing against that. They absolutely should. And for Twins fans that may have been yawning at the idea of an all-star game, they got to see Willie Castro last night. People latch on to that. And I think that's a really good part of the all-star setup that they have. But most of the teams then represented in the all-star game don't have playoff implications on the line at this part of the season. So, I mean, bad example, but like a Bobby Witt Jr., the Royals certainly aren't out of it. I'm not saying that. They're just a couple of games out of the wild card, 2.5 behind us. But like if Bobby Witt Jr., well, whoever was representing the White Sox last night, I don't have the names in front of me. There we go. Not Bobby Witt. Love Bobby Witt. Hell of a job in the All-Star game, too. Whoever's representing the White Sox does not care about home field advantage. So late stages of a game, you certainly are trying to represent yourself in the best fashion. Are you going to go the extra mile for that catch? Are you going to take that at bat to 7, 8, 9 pitches, fouling off, trying to move a runner, that sort of thing, late stages of a game? Or, and whoever's managing it, are they realistically coming, and usually the managers are coming from good teams, so I suppose maybe that's not a factor involved. But how do you get the buy-in to all of the players is probably the long story short aspect of that. But I would love it if something was on the line. You can't put anything on the line in the Pro Bowl. A 3-on-3 bit, other than putting cash on the line. I think they did like $1 million or something like that. And the NBA All-Star Game. None of those, I mean, it's other than maybe the dunk contest, the actual game itself. I don't know how you put something on the line there.
The NHL 3-on-3, they like all split $1 million. I think the winning team, something like that.
That'd be pretty sweet.
My friend group growing up in Des Moines were all NL watchers. A lot of Cubs and Cardinals terrorism. And they would vote back when this rule was a thing. They would intentionally vote for the worst AL players to make the All-Star team so that the NL would have a better chance to get home field advantage.
Well, yeah.
That's the type of 3D chess I miss, Nordo.
Well, the fan vote in any regard is always going to taint if we're trying to get the best person or the right person into a spot. The fan vote is in some ways always going to be biased, and therefore you're not necessarily going to get the right answer. But yeah, I miss when it was when there was something on the line, home field advantage. I'd also then have to look back and see. Well, there was something out there back in my brain. I think when they changed this, it's 2017 or 2018, when they bumped the home field advantage bit, that they had found that the American League was simultaneously on a significant run of All-Star games, and they had won a significant number of World Series in that spot. So home field advantage over the long haul, how much has that played into winning the World Series? I don't know. But no, I'm with you. Yeah. Ultimately, it's Jarren. Why is the name? Jarren Duran hits the 2-run shot that puts AL over the top. He gets the All-Star Game MVP. Congratulations to him. Willie Castro, one plate appearance, and it was a ground out to short. Cool to see him in the mix, and glad it feels like he's one of 4 people that are healthy into the second half of the season.
Number 2.
The other half of your homework assignment was the Timberwolves Summer League game. They did end up falling to the 76ers 92-90. Here's what I'll say, though, because it was let's be honest. And I know this is going to sound rich coming from me, who's not a basketball aficionado. It wasn't the greatest game in the world. We've said it already. But I found this.
The worst game they've played, yes.
I found this kind of instead of that as a Timberwolves talker. This is according to Shams, your guy. Anthony Edwards is reportedly set to be the, quote, breakaway act in the upcoming Netflix documentary following several NBA stars. This town is just owning Netflix between Kirk Cousins, not anymore, now Jets, and now Ant is set to be that guy too, which is your favorite thing to talk about, is these Netflix documentaries.
Well, 2 years in a row. See, growing up in Iowa, it's not Minnesota. So you have to. You don't have your pro sports flag flying locally. You gotta outsource it. You gotta export it or import it, I should say.
Yeah.
So maybe southern side of Iowa, a ton of Chiefs fans. Quad Cities are loving on the Cubs or the Cardinals, and big Bears fan.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I have a buddy from Iowa, just dirt spot on the map, middle of the state, and he's a diehard Bears fan, and it's just he's obnoxious to talk to be honest about these things, because he's so optimistic about Caleb Williams, and Rome Odunze right now, and we don't know what's going on with our spot yet. Development.
My fantasy league has all sorts of different teams. Yeah.
But it's interesting meeting people from Iowa. They have to import all of that talent that goes around with it.
The Netflix documentary, Anthony Edwards going to be the star.
I'm sorry, I was reading the text.
Okay, anyways.
The Netflix thing for me, though, is because even though you're from Iowa, you get the vibe up in Minnesota, is we're flyover country. We're the cornfields, right? Well, how can you say that
Not
when
anymore.
we're being highlighted in every sports documentary that comes out? Where's the hockey version with Kirill?
Seriously.
What about following Royce Lewis around?
Now we're talking. Where's Byron Buxton?
So those are the thoughts on future plans. I think it's kind of cool. Cameras in draft rooms. I think that raises. There's a lot of fraudulence in the way that they react to their picks, and I truly believe anytime somebody knows they're on camera, most people will act somewhat differently than if they were not. And so that changes things. Now, what also changes things in this respect is that basically nobody around Kirk Cousins, other than a few people with the team, they had no idea that they were chronicling the 2022 season. Well, a ton of people knew that this was happening, or at least more people knew. So how does that change things? And now with Anthony Edwards, his stardom continues to rise, continues to skyrocket. Good for him. Next up, the Olympics. Then after that, let's go time into 2024, 2025. I think these things are cool. I'm also curious if we were talking, like if we were, you're a big Braves fan, so I'm just using 92.9 The Game as an example. We're down in Atlanta and we're talking about this. Hey, Anthony Edwards is going to be, there'll probably be, Hawks fans and people that were kind of, okay, well, yeah, Ants.
Bulldogs.
Ants on social media, Ants all over Georgia, yeah.
Yep.
But in the end, whether it's Minnesota, it's the Georgia connection, other people throughout the country, other than those that chase their favorite players versus their favorite teams, how much did people in Texas care about Kirk Cousins being in the dock? Now he ends up being interesting because he's kind of a weird dude. JJ, one of the best wide receivers in the league. But if I'm being honest about the receiver doc, I don't think it even closely touches how interesting the quarterback side of things were.
I'd agree.
And you've learned a little bit about JJ in this mix, but it's really reinforced a lot of the things that we already thought about him. So it's cool that it's happening. But I don't know, with Anthony, are we going to learn a ton? Maybe we'll get to see more kind of, the family dynamic. I talked about that with Justin Jefferson. He's a superstar with an amazing family and fellow athletes. His brothers, huge athletes playing at LSU. They played in big time games as well. Certainly have not risen professionally to the levels of JJ. But he's got an awesome family, but they're kind of muted. When you don't see, there's not a lot of hubbub around the family. They're happy to talk about JJ if asked, but overall they're not a prominent visual presence around Justin Jefferson when he's here in Minnesota. So getting the chance to see that, would it be similar with Anthony Edwards? I do think that's cool, but in the end, flyover country apparently so much more interesting than anybody ever would have thought. So
imagine that.
In lieu of titles, we're getting some exposure. People care about us. Tater tot, hot dish, and mild salsa. Bring it on. No, that's super cool.
Number 3.
This comes from oneofus.com, Tom Pelissero, who's also, I believe, in the initials tournament. Bill Belichick intends to coach in 2025. He's not done yet, not calling it a career. He's staying engaged in the game is part of Tom Pelissero's quotes. Do you think he's still... I thought he tested the waters and that was it and it was done. Seems like he's not given up hope quite yet.
Well, this will be a dumb, obvious joke, but he's dating a 24-year-old for 6 months and realizes that he needs that NFL cash again. That was a dumb throwaway bit. Same conversation that took place when he left the New England Patriots. My initial instinct was to say, well, this is a guy that doesn't need to interview. He has... Hey, I coached for the New England Patriots for 20 years. Just look at that, and a handshake deal could be done. But then after the coaching process takes place, it is interesting to me that I think maybe it was at Atlanta where he had at least some conversations, but he was not a hot commodity into this last year. So is it because of coaching style? Is it the belief that the Tom Brady presence... Was it truly, and Belichick's an elite coach, an elite schematics guy, an elite adjustments guy, and is far worthy of being considered one of the best to ever coach, and certainly HOF. But at this stage of his career, to go and recreate that somewhere else, there's got to be a lot of GMs out there that are super skeptical of it. So who am I to say that a guy that at his age, now he's not in, he's done the analyst scene, which I thought he was incredibly thoughtful and interesting and entertaining. Saw him doing some ESPN / he was with Pat McAfee, I believe. Mm-hmm. I can't remember exactly when it was definitely during the draft where he was at.
It was night one.
But I saw him and he was fantastic. I really enjoyed getting to see that side of Bill. And so maybe he just doesn't want to do that, because I think that's an area where he could land and maintain. But some coaches want to coach. Look at Zimmer. Zimmer being let go from here, experiencing significant personal tragedy in his life, losing his son. He's down at the ranch. He's older. He can just run out the clock and be retired. But now you see him back coaching again. And some guys, and maybe it's that generation too. Whether we talked yesterday or the day before, the connection of Zimmer and Parcells. Parcells, it was hard for him to leave the coaching ranks. Belichick, maybe hard to leave the coaching ranks. Mike Zimmer, hard to leave the coaching ranks as they know what's going on and they're forced to watch it from the comfort or maybe lack of comfort, the discomfort of their sofa at home. But Belichick, I do question if teams believe that he can recreate greatness in another city. So and also he would want to pick the situation. So whoever the worst team in the NFL this year, they could be in line every year. There's 4, 5, 6 hot seat situations. I don't believe he's going to be, yeah, that's fine. I'll go coach in Carolina. I mean, they're not going to fire their guy after 1 year anyway, but you get my point. It'll be interesting to see. Let's pause and bring in Dan Hayes. Let's talk about the Minnesota Twins. All-Star game is done. Second half sprint upon us, starting Saturday with the Brewers. Dan Hayes covers the Twins for The Athletic, and he joins me next, 9 to noon on The Fan. Final hour ahead.